Hey, I'm doing okay. That lecture today took a lot longer than I expected it to. How you guys going? Yeah, that sounds about right. Just the hard 90-degree turn. Yeah. Um, it's. I mean, do it slowly is generally the advice, but depends on how your code works. If you can't get it, push it further back in your plans of, you know, which track parts do you need to be able to do for test day? You will need to be able to do the hard right hand corner to get 4 marks, but not to pass. Hey, Sean. Did you have a look at the doc that's now on Blackboard? The testing procedure doc? I sent it to you on Discord. I don't know if you saw it. Cool. Happy with it? Sweet. I mainly just changed a bit of wording to make it consistent. Sweet. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked the lecture video. It ended up being a lot longer than it has in the past because I put in a lot more information about actually giving presentations than have been there before. And probably substantially more info on innovation and entrepreneurship now that I've had a company for a year than when I hadn't had a company for a year and I wrote that originally. Okay, so to some extent, we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but I'm happy to talk about it now as well. Um, so your presentations that you're going to give in week 12 are going to be your target audience that you're going to assume that you're presenting to is the basically the person who funded you to undertake the project in the first place. So you can assume they've got a reasonably good knowledge of the project brief as it, at least as it was originally written in week 1. So you can assume they sort of, well, they actually wrote your original project brief. You've then done a lot of work in the last 3 months, and if you've interpreted that project brief in a particular way, or something that was written in there really did require a lot of interpretation, or it wasn't actually feasible, you can talk in your presentation about some of the constraints and things like that that might have existed, but you don't have to go back and recap everything that was in the initial project brief. That's not what it's about. Your presentations in week 12 are really about getting your audience to understand your solution and why it works and why it's good. It's not about going back and redoing all of the what would normally be in an introduction or what would be in a presentation to somebody who had no idea what was going on. Can you use the COVID-19 extension for assessment 6? As long as you haven't used it, I can't stop you. I wouldn't if I was you. As long as you're going to not fail the course, I would, personal opinion, is submit it and move on with your life. As long as you're not going to fail. I didn't get the car boot photos. I'll go in tomorrow and get them for you. Sorry. Who did you send your risk assessment to? Or did you just submit it to Blackboard? Okay. I know Mick's been doing pouring big slabs of concrete for the last couple of days. Soon, by your workshop this week, it should be approved. If it's not, mention it in your workshop. If you need to work on something between now and your workshop, flick me an email and I'll have a look at it. Okay, so again, we're going to cover this in this, but if we have a look, so the question being, do you have to record everything ourselves and upload it, or is the live stream enough? The document that's up on Blackboard that talks all about your testing procedure. I want you to do both. Now, if everything goes off without a hitch on test day, then all we'll ever do is look at your live stream, and you can get full marks from that, and you don't actually need anything in the recordings. But if something goes wrong on test day and you blow your only opportunity, that's where the recordings can kick in and save you. Okay, so that's why I want everybody to have made a recording beforehand. It's a backup, it's a safety net. But you don't have to do it. It's just real dangerous not to. Yeah, you can use the COVID-19 extension for Assessment 6 if you would like. I don't know why you would, but you can. It's just going to put it smack bang in the middle of your exams, and draw out a course that doesn't need to be drawn out. But yeah, you certainly can. Yes, Josh. Would it be appropriate to discuss what we've done to meet the constraints, i.e., how do we make the wing aerodynamically practical? 100%. That's what I'm looking for. Lucky you if you don't have exams, but yeah, move on with your life. Anyway, that's a personal opinion. Of course, you can use it if you haven't used it for one of your other assessments. There's no way that we can stop you doing that. No, anybody needs to have their risk assessment done before they do any more work. That was the lecture from last week. Go back, watch that lecture. It's got everything in it. Well, numbers seem to still be going up. Yeah, they're going up drastically. All right, we will wait to 5 past. I was going to start now, but I said I wasn't going to start till 5 past, and because the numbers keep going up, I think that I should wait. Ah. Those of you who have completed a combination of design report and project testing are encouraged to focus as much as possible on the design and build that you have performed, completing whatever testing you can. Adopting a format of a 5-minute presentation and a small demonstration is also acceptable if prior approval from your workshop leader has been gained first. Do that. Predominantly focus on project testing though. That's what this is all about. Because anything that you can demonstrate in project testing immediately awards you full marks for that part of it, right? If you do it in design report format, well, then you maybe will get some of the marks for it. But if you can demonstrate it, demonstrate it. It's way better. Still going up. Okay. We're nearly there. 13 seconds. All right. So I wanted to cover off a few quick things. These are sort of some frequently asked questions and stuff that I've gotten kind of actually on that topic, to be honest. I've had a few people ask me in the last week or so if they have to do the design report if they're capable of doing project testing. The answer is definitely not. If you can do the project testing as it's written, either originally written or now written in these updated documents, go for it. Do project testing. That's the ideal solution, is that you do project testing. You do no extra work whatsoever for the design report. You just get the marks from project testing. That's the ideal scenario. That's the least work scenario for you and the best way for you to meet the learning goals. So if you can do that, you should definitely do that. The whole concept of the design report there is there to stop certain individuals or teams who have been heavily impacted by COVID from not losing marks and losing experience. And certain projects. So there's some projects that are now just totally impractical to try and do as they were originally written, and so the design report helps them. But if you're in a position to do a normal project, you should just do the normal project. And again, get it done, move on. So yeah, just to be really clear, if you can do project testing, you don't have to touch the design report at all. We're going to be talking a little bit about presentation skills and presentations and stuff today. That was in the week 10 lecture, so that went up today. I don't expect everybody to have watched it by now. It came out a bit later than I wanted it to come out, so I'm not assuming that everybody's watched it. So I'm going to recap a few things that were in that lecture. Week 11 will hopefully be a mental health lecture, meaning it's effectively bonus content, guest lecture content again. It has every year been considered one of the most valuable lectures given in Eng 1500 period. So I would strongly advise everybody watches that next week. But my point is, week 12 then being a recap means no masses of new content for you in this course. So once you can get through the week 10 lecture, you're pretty much done. Home and hosed. All right, so in week 12, how is this actually going to run? I've had a bunch of questions about what's actually happening in week 12. How's it going to operate? That's what we're going to talk about today. So there's a document up on Blackboard. I'm going to finish this short presentation, then go through the document. But that's this document. It's up on Blackboard now, and it takes you through how all of test day is going to work as a general thing, and then as a project-specific thing. All right. So that's what we're mainly going to be talking today about, and what I assume most of the questions will be about. But obviously, questions can be about anything. So this whole concept of project or assessment 5 testing, and that's either project testing or your design report testing, either one. This isn't something that we've done before. This isn't something, as far as I know, anyone has really done before. There's no precedent set for the best way to do this. So we are totally breaking new ground at the moment. So we're doing our best to create a fair, good scenario as to do this as effectively as possible. But yeah, I'm inventing this process right now. So I inevitably will figure out better ways of doing things between now and week 12, and these processes will be subject to change. If I could, I definitely wouldn't even tell you anything about it right now, because it's way too early for anybody to be even worried about it. But university policy says I have to give you 2 weeks notice. So here's your 2 weeks notice. But yeah, as I work out better ways of doing this, we will update it and we will change it. So particularly the main thing that I want is to get some guinea pigs in week 11 and try this out on anyone who's getting close to finish their project. During your workshop, I want to work with you and basically do a dry run of what we're going to do in week 12 and see if everything works. So some things that I know may not work is things like letting so many people go live on Discord all at once, testing procedures being done from a webcam, maybe they don't have the resolution and stuff like that to see what we need to see. So they're the types of things that I want to work out. As I work them out, I'll update that document that's on Blackboard. So please check it periodically to make sure you've got the most up-to-date copy. Don't just use the one that you got in the email today and assume that's valid at all times. Every couple of days, every week, just before your workshop, whatever, check that document again to make sure you've got the most up-to-date copy. And talk to your workshop leaders, okay? So I seek feedback from your workshop leaders to put that document together, but as they develop a better sense of exactly how test day is going to work and the most effective way to do it, they're going to update things. And if you have questions or specific scenarios, again, check in with them. They ultimately have the say, okay? All right, so the way that test day is going to work is every team will present. Stand up and give some form of presentation to their workshop or a subset of their workshop, but a reasonable number of people. So this slide is taken directly from the lecture that happened today. So if you've seen the lecture from today, you've already seen this slide, but I'll recap it quickly. So that document is up. Depending on whether you're doing project testing, you'll do a 2-minute presentation. If you're doing the design report, you'll do a 10-minute presentation. This can be a single individual representing your whole team. So not everybody has to speak during the presentation. You could nominate one spokesperson, they could do your whole presentation for you, or you could have several people speak at different times. That's up to you. You figure that out for how your team decides that it wants to portray itself to your funding body. Now remember, for this presentation, the person you're talking to is your client. They're the person who paid you originally to solve this problem, to come up with the solution to the brief. So think about who they are, think about how much they already know. They wrote your original project brief, right? So you're trying to convince them that they should invest in you or invest in your team to the best of your ability. So that's kind of your goal with this presentation. Practically, you'll go live on Discord during your workshop, unless you use Zoom normally for your workshops, and then you'll do a Zoom presentation to the room. But that's more or less how that's going to work. So if you're doing project testing, you'll give your 2-minute presentation. You'll then answer questions, and then you'll demonstrate your project immediately. So your presentation actually will generally come before your project testing. And it's your opportunity to kind of set it up for me, set up the scene. I'm about to see your thing get tested. What do you want to tell me first to impress me about it? If you're doing the design report, because you're not going to have that same project testing coming immediately after, you're going to get the opportunity to give a longer presentation that you can have audio and visual and stuff like that with it. So your 2-minute pitch can just be you standing up in front of the camera and talking for 2 minutes. But the design report, I expect people to actually have some form of audio visual to go with it, which might be a PowerPoint presentation with photos and videos and things like that. Or it might be having sharing your screen and having models or Tinkercad simulations or Creo models or Strand models actually up and running live to demonstrate how your project works. Your main goal here is to convince me as the funding body that your solution is better than anybody else's in the room. So it's really focused on the solution. In general, I don't want to see anybody stand up with a piece of paper. That will not do good things in the minds of your funding body to watch you reading off a piece of paper. You may want to cover these things. So you may want to briefly scope your problem out, particularly if you've taken a very open-ended project brief and you've interpreted it in a certain way and you need your audience to understand that interpretation. You want to put it into your presentation. You want to briefly cover how your project works and what sets you apart from everybody else in the room. So why you best, and you need to cover costs. So costs there, we generally ask for 3 different numbers of costs. How much should it cost you to build the one you've got? How much will it cost you if you had to build another one tomorrow, knowing all of the lessons that you've learned, and hopefully not messing anything up? And then how much would it cost you to mass produce? So if you were to make 10,000 of these, where would you win on economies of scale? And you need to state your expected performance. So remember, this happens just before you present, or just before you demonstrate, sorry. So how well will it go? But even if you're doing the design report, you need to state how well you believe your object to go and how well you think it would work versus how well I think it would work from the rest of your report and your presentation. I want to see how well those 2 numbers line up. Don't tell me it's going to be fantastic if it's not. That looks really, really bad. This whole process can provide a multiplier to your assessment mark. So, and that number can be greater or less than 1. So basically what we're going to be looking to do here is probe into your team to see how well each of your team members actually understands the project that you have. And see, oh wow, that one person really carried the team. Maybe they'll get scaled up a little bit. Or literally no one's seen this person since week 3. We didn't even know that they existed. They've done no work and have no idea what's going on. They're going to get scaled down. That happens unbelievably rarely, but it has happened before. I think it's happened twice in the history of 1500. Generally, it's an excuse for us to scale people up. Now, although only one team member needs to actually present, anybody in the audience, which can be your entire workshop or your workshop leaders or me or somebody else, can ask any one person any question at any time and demand an answer. So although you may not have worked on a particular part of the project, if you get asked a question on it, you may have to go, okay, I didn't work on that, but here is my best understanding of how it works. We will hold you to an answer. Okay, so you don't get to be a totally absentee team member is effectively all I'm getting at there. Yes, you will have the opportunity to ask questions to your peers. You can be as mean as you want. If you decide to be mean though, don't be surprised if somebody decides to be mean back to you. overall, the intention here is that if you've got a good project and you've worked hard on it throughout the semester, this process will not only be easy for you, it should be rewarding, and it should allow you to position your audience to understand just how great your project is and how well it works. That's the intention. All right, it's supposed to be a great excuse for you to talk up the awesome work you've done over the last 3 months. Teaching presentation skills is in the lecture. So that's that. I'm gonna flick back to here. So this is the document. Now I'm gonna answer a couple of questions, go through this process. It might be a bit of a repeat of what I've said before, but I want to try and talk it through to make sure everybody understands, and then do some more questions. So I'll do a couple of questions first. With the robot project report price list, a lot of the components are listed vaguely. Can you provide components? They're literally the components that were in the box. That's literally the order list that I used. So yeah, that's the parts that are in the box are the parts that are on that list. Yes, I'll do revision. I'll need to think of a good way of doing revisions for the document. I might leave track changes turned on, or I might do revision numbers, but I'll definitely do something to let you know if it's been updated or not. No, if you're doing the report and the project, basically do the project. Project trumps report in every case, okay? No extensions on assessment 5 under any circumstances. So if you've got a problem with your assessment 5, you present it to the best of your ability on the day. This is what the design report is there to help with. If there's issues, you can do the design report instead. But under no circumstances does anyone ever get an extension on assessment 5. This course is largely about delivering on time, on budget. So on time is critically important. Presentations where you can get bonus marks. Sort of. Presentation is there so that we give you as many marks as we possibly can for the project. So if, for example, you can give your presentation and say, it's not the best, but it is the cheapest, then I'm going to look at your project doing okay for a small cost and going, yeah, that's really impressive. All right. So it gives me the ability to give you as many marks as I possibly can. That being said, if you do an absolutely awesome testing and give an absolutely kick-ass pitch, yes, definitely you can get some bonus marks. 100%. I love bonus marks. Bonus marks are the best. Does everyone get to watch everyone's pitches and ask questions, or only the workshop leader? To the best of our ability, everybody will watch everybody. So in your workshop, you'll have one person presenting at a time, and everybody will watch them. This is one of the reasons we're going to keep you unbelievably rigorously to time, so that we can get through everybody, and you get that sensation of presenting to an entire crowd. In some projects where there's really big classes, we may split you into 2 or 3 that run simultaneously to make sure we can get through everybody. Depends what you are. So medicals, education, desal, and possibly software will all run a few sessions in parallel. No specific formatting guidelines for the design report. It's not where the marks really sit for that report. They really sit in how good of a solution do you have. It's not a report writing assessment. It's all about how good your project is. So yeah, you still need to put in a report that's good enough that I can understand what's going on. So you don't have to follow Assessment 4's outline, but anything that's in the Assessment 4 outline will never be considered incorrect formatting. So if you don't know how you want to format something and there's a rule in Assessment 4, feel free to use that one. So if you're doing both testing and the report, you can do some small combination and have a slightly longer presentation, like a 5-minute presentation, and then a demonstration. That will be acceptable, but you're still only going to get that maximum amount of time that we'd ever be issuing a team. So be very careful that you don't do a bad job of both. If you have to prioritize, always prioritize project demonstration over report. All right, so to quickly go through the document, I think we've probably covered most of this. It's just sort of formalized and written out here. Everybody presents during their workshop. It will run as normal through Zoom or Discord. All team members are expected to be present for the entirety of the duration, not just for when you're presenting. So you have to be there, you have to be on time, and you have to be logged on the entire 2-hour workshop. Or you'll be considered absent. So make sure you're on top of that. Also, make sure you're capable of presenting through the platform so that you've got your mic and your speakers are working and all of that type of stuff is set up. Make sure you know how to go live and screen share or share a camera feed as required. So this is all stuff that I strongly suggest you spend some of this week working on and making sure you know how to do effectively and efficiently, because you're gonna need it. Practical project testing, uninterrupted 2-minute pitch. You don't need any visuals if you don't want them. You're allowed to just turn a webcam on, stand and present. Then you'll demonstrate and field questions, maybe before, maybe after your demonstration, maybe a bit of both, maybe during, depends on your project. The entire team answers questions, we covered that. Project specific things are in this document. Having your testing procedure set up and ready to go is entirely your responsibility, okay? We can't do that one for you. So you need to have everything lined up, ready to go, ready to be executed. If you have to go, oh no, wait, I just need to spend 10 minutes setting this thing up, that's your testing time over, all right? So just make sure you've got everything set up, because again, we've got to keep to strict times. If you're doing the design report, 10-minute presentation, to your selection committee, we covered all of that. You're encouraged to use visuals as much as possible. Now, this is the kicker. So any models, prototypes, full scale or small scale actual physical models, simulations like a Tinkercad or a Creo model or an FEA model or anything like that that you have are definitely something you want to not only be showing during that presentation, but sharing with your workshop leaders before the presentation so that they can poke around at them and ask you questions and just sort of prove how good they might really be. Okay? You will have to submit your design report as well by your week 12 workshop. It's not officially due until the start of your week 12 workshop, and I can't make it be due at any other time. But if you can submit it earlier, you give your workshop leader the opportunity to go through it and then ask you to clarify some specific things. So maybe you've done not a very good job of explaining something in your design report. If you submit it a day or two early, maybe your workshop leader reads it, goes, I'm going to ask him questions about this particular thing to give you the opportunity to answer it better. Yeah, you might want to provide a bit of an overview at the start about how you've scoped your problem. That's all good. We talked about if you've done both. Question time, anyone can get asked any question. In question time, don't be surprised if somebody, like a workshop leader or particularly myself, drops in and asks a bunch of, I don't want to say aggressive questions, but I'm going to say aggressive questions. Takes a really hard line of questioning at you, poking and trying to find out where it hurts. It might just be because from the presentation that you've given, it looks a lot like smoke and mirrors. And some people, when they try to be too formal, come across as real smoke and mirrors. And that's really bad. It's really hard to mark that. So often I'll poke at things and ask really hard, deliberate questions to try and get you to give clear, straight answers to things, often because I'm trying to tick a box on a marking rubric and you just haven't said the right thing. You might find that really confrontational the first time. Don't sweat it. Keep your head. Answer the questions to the best of your ability. Now, we spoke about this, but I'll speak about it again. You are allowed to make recordings of yourself giving you your presentation and of any project testing you want to do and upload them to Blackboard. This is there to prevent something going wrong on test day and it totally wrecking you. And maybe that's your fault, or maybe the internet gods decide to frown upon you halfway through your presentation. Well, then we can go back to your recording and check on it. Okay? So the live presentation always pulls rank, and you can do a terrible recorded presentation and a great live presentation. You'll get all the marks for the great live presentation. Fantastic. But if something goes wrong during your live presentation, we'll go back to your recording. So I highly encourage you to do that. They will be due before your workshop. You can't do this after the fact. Project-specific things are down here. Talk to your workshop leaders. All right. If you are doing practical testing and you need to get anything set up, you should do your best to get it set up before your week 11 workshop so that you can show it to your workshop leader and they can say, yes, all of that looks fine to me. Happy days. What you don't want to do is get into week 12 and have somebody look at your testing setup and go, that's totally unacceptable. You can't do that. And final thing here, both Zoom and Discord can be accessed on your phone. So it might be worth making a second account and having say a laptop with a webcam logged in and a phone logged in. So if you want to make a second account and you need invites and stuff to Discord, let me know and I can chuck a bunch of them up for you to do that. Cool. So now there's a bunch of discipline-specific stuff. I'm going to do questions for as long as questions need to be done for. If you want to jump on Blackboard under Assessments, Assessment 5, Design Report, Week 12 Procedures, that's it. So if you want to read your own project and then hit me up with questions, more than happy to do that. So, it would be nice does software need a camera? It would be nice if one person who was doing the pitch had a camera, because just being able to have you actually stand in front of a camera and talk is helpful. And you may need to show the phone and then, show what you're pressing. So software in particular, this will go for everybody, but software, this goes for anybody doing the design report for their project or something like that where they have to demonstrate, probably really wants to spend some time thinking, okay, I've got this particular thing, whether it be an app on a phone or an object. How am I going to share that with somebody on the other side of a webcam? Is holding it up to a webcam the correct way to do it? Or do I need the phone, or do I need something else? And actually planning out how you want to portray your device working. But yeah, I'd advise at least one webcam for the person who speaks, and then up to you for the rest of it. To the best of our ability, the design report itself will not change anymore. To the best of our ability, nothing will ever change, but it's only when we know that we can make a clear improvement that will change something. Robots do not have to do a risk assessment. Okay, will each team member have to screen share or go live, or could one person be able to do that? You only need one. Any person can be asked a question though, so it might be useful if you're trying to answer a question to be able to go live to do so and show particular things, but only one person has to do it. If we're doing both, do we need visuals in the design report? Yes, definitely. Sandbox does not need a risk assessment. Will I be going to every workshop on test day? Yes and no. So there are particular points in the timetable where I have 4 workshops on simultaneously, and I'm good, but I'm not that good. So I will be working the entirety of test week, and I will be bouncing around all over the place to see as many of you as I possibly can. And those of you I can't see, I'll watch all of your pictures and presentations. So I will see everybody. But unfortunately, I won't be able to be in everybody's workshop, which makes me really sad because I want to see everybody. I love Test Week. It's the best thing in the world for me. Does the design report need a scope and a background? It is more focused on the actual parts of the design and build. But you'll find if you actually go back to the original project briefs, they're not scoped as well as you maybe first thought they were. And you may want to reiterate how you have scoped the problem a little bit. So you might spend a page, maybe two. And I think I actually state that somewhere in the design report brief. Maybe up to 2 pages doing that, maybe less. Same deal in your presentation. Maybe 1 minute on that, maybe even less. So a little bit of it where it's required, but it's not a huge part that's needed. If you're not doing the project, is it a minimum or a maximum 2-minute presentation? Great question. I should have been clearer on this. Maximum. Hard maximum. And if you're doing the demo, it will be it's not a 2-minute presentation, it's 120 seconds. And we will cut you off. Okay? Hard maximums. So if you get through it in 8 minutes, wonderful. That's perfect. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Definitely hard maximums on both of those time limits. Same for demonstrating. If you can demonstrate absolutely everything we want to see and we tick all of the boxes within 2 minutes of demonstrations, you're done. Go home. Like that's perfect. So you'll notice with a few of the projects, they'll have up to 3 testing opportunities are allowed. If you do it all in the first one, you don't have to do any more. That's what we want to see. Oh, yes, we can mute teams. That's going to be great. Project testing for Sandbox is unfortunately virtually impossible. You don't have a sandbox, right? So you're one of the main reasons, one of the main people I was thinking about when I thought up design reports and stuff like that. So you've got, it's probably easiest because project testing for your project was so difficult even when you had the sandboxes. We did rely very heavily on a reporting structure anyway, so it's actually reasonably easy for you. Anything you can demonstrate as part of your design report, though, so any models that you've made or anything like that are great things to fill your design report and your design report presentation with. Okay, so you don't get the sandboxes to do demonstration, but you can still show off everything that you've made and you've built and you've designed. I haven't bought any more Red Bull, but I have been buying things for variety. So, but no, this is still part of my supply. Okay, no. So, for the robot, they have to run the track within the 2 minutes. No. So, the 2 minutes is for you to stand and present. Then you do the demonstration. So you'd stand, you'd present, this is my bot, it was designed like this, it does these things, these are why it's great. Now I'm going to show you how great it is, put it down, turn it on, do your demonstration. Okay, well, answer questions and then put it down and do your demonstration. Okay, so you don't have to get your full testing procedure out of the way in that 2 minutes. 2-minute uninterrupted presentation followed by a demonstration, which will have a hard time limit set on it by your workshop leaders. Okay, so in Aero, it says we will do 1 test, and then the next team will go, and then we'll do the second test. What happens if we don't get all the way back through them again? So that's largely why there are some really strict time limits on things, so that we will cut people off at 120 seconds or whatever. So your 2-hour workshop will be split up into segmented time windows, and the team starts at its start time. Okay, so yeah, we'll hold everybody really rigorously to time. so that we can ensure that everybody gets through and everybody gets a fair hit at this. If something goes wrong in the glorious Australian NBN network or whatever, we'll work it out. Okay, we'll extend your workshops longer. We'll do something. We'll run a second session. I don't know. I'll do something to allow you to do it. That's partly why we're allowing you to have the recorded videos up early as well, as that safety net. You might not get your third test, but we might just consider the video that you uploaded earlier to be your third test, for example. So that'll be applicable to robots and arrows and a few of the other projects as well. Are we allowed to present while being physically together, considering that it is now legal? Yes. So this is one of the reasons why I hate issuing things crystal balling many weeks in the future. You are not required to all be present in the same place. However, if you believe that you can safely get your whole team together in one area, and you elect to do that, I'm not instructing you to do that in any way, shape, or form, and you will never be penalized for not doing it. But if you elect to do that, that would be acceptable, and you may determine that that is easier. That would be fine, provided it is still considered safe and it is still in keeping with absolutely every one of all of the other social distancing rules and all of that. So please be very careful with it. But yes, I do believe the rules now would allow you to do that. Okay, so if we have a creek at home, would including a short video of a simulation be a good idea for our design report? I really like this idea. So this is cool. This is lateral thinking. So I'm assuming this is a sandbox project, but this is somebody who's looking at their problem and going, how am I going to demonstrate this to the best of my ability, and thinking creatively to be able to do so. There are descriptions of things we would like teams to do, but you're not limited to just doing these particular things. Anything that you can think of that's going to impress the client that you can demonstrate to them is really, really good. So any way you can demonstrate that your device works, go for it. I'm deliberately leaving that as open as I possibly can to not restrict teams into just doing it one way. If you can figure out a kick-ass way to do it, do it. Cool. How are we doing for views? 105. Sweet. So will there be any testing procedure for Red Bull? So for Red Bull, where are you? Not really at this stage. I spoke with Alex about this the other day. I was hoping he was going to speak to you last Wednesday about it, but I'm not sure if he did. That he would consider a presentation fine, and I should zoom in for you guys. I keep forgetting that this is probably much harder for you to see on your screens than on mine. So yeah, we spoke about this. What would be great for the Red Bull project is if you can submit any and all models that you may have made and drawings and stuff like that early, and Alex and I will download them and play around with them and do what we can to try to make that a bit of an interactive session. I'm not going to write it down in here, but I'm certainly looking at trying to invite all of the teams at selected times throughout maybe test week to get anybody who has something they want to bolt to the car to be able to do that. But I need to check a whole bunch of rules and ask a whole bunch of permissions to do that, okay? So I want to do some testing with you, but give me a week. Does the 10-minute limit include the question time? I'm not sure if I answered that question. No. So you'll have up to 10 minutes uninterrupted, and then probably 5 minutes of question time, partially depending on the project. Okay. Is there anything else I can help people with? Heaps of you on. Any questions about anything at all? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just Q&A now. I'm done content-wise. Watch the lecture if you've got the time. I understand that it's long. I apologize for that. Break it up, watch it in sessions. For pre-recorded presentations, can all team members submit a video that one person did? Yes. So it is a team submission. So if I'm part of a team and I don't present, that's fine. If Bob over here presents, then I submit his presentation. That's fine. So for storing in the box, do you have to make your own? You don't have to make your own. You'd have to demonstrate that all of your parts would fit within that particular volume. I don't necessarily need you to make a box that does so, but if you do make a box that's the right size and then you drop all your things in there and it fits, it's nice and easy, right? It's the easiest way to demonstrate it, but you don't absolutely have to do that, no. I doubt Red Bull will sponsor your wind turbine. You can ask them. Does the overview need to be double spaced since it is 2-page maximum? You shouldn't be having a substantial overview regardless. Okay. The reason I put the maximum in there is, look, there's not going to be marks associated to that overview. It's just, do I need to have an overview to understand why you've solved your problem in a particular way? All right. It's all about how good your actual solution is. That's where all the marks are. What CAD program would I recommend for your crossing? It's a good question. You don't need to use a CAD program. We use Creo, and if you jump into the Aero folder, we made them learn some Creo, so there's a bunch of info up there about it. It's probably not ideal for what you want to do though. I don't actually know what the best program for you would be. It still might be Creo. Creo's a little bit clunky for some of the making stuff in it. You might get away with things like hand sketches and stuff like that. But yeah, have a look at Creo. They pretty much all work the same way. I think there's a few open source ones out, or free to use ones. Autodesk has some that you might find a bit better. Autodesk has a whole suite of all sorts of different programs that they might be somewhere you want to try. But I like the sugar. Sugar's delicious. Okay, for the robot. You've been told there's no marks for the automated gate. You don't need the automated gate section. I wrote that in here today to confirm it for everybody. Wherever that project is, robot. Yeah. There you go. That should answer your question. No, you definitely don't need stickers on your gliders. That was that I had those stickers available this year as well for a while. They were in 109, I think. They were just something I got made for people who wanted them. And people opted to want them. So yeah, no, you definitely don't need the promo stickers at all. I have no idea where you get an exam timetable from. Because I don't have an exam, so I totally don't remember. Does anybody know the answer to that question? Because it'd be great to share it if you do. Should software have the MIT App Inventor ready to show code as well? We we probably won't ask to see your code. I don't think it would hurt for one person in your team maybe to have the code sitting there, but we probably won't ask to see that at any stage. It's more about, can you demonstrate the functionality of your app and how it works, not dig into the exact way in which you wrote the code. The only time we'd ask you to show us code would probably be when something doesn't work and we don't understand why. We might ask to see something like that, but it would be rare. I've never asked to see code before. Yeah, Robot Project mentions Tinkercad. So, yes, Tinkercad model. If you go to Assessment 5 and look at this documentation that's been up here for like 2 weeks, it'll tell you about Tinkercad. To expect Tinkercad in there somewhere. So, what Tinkercad is... Yeah. I don't know if this is going to work or not. It's a simulated Arduino environment. It's not going to be super useful for anybody doing the robot project, but the medical and the education projects can simulate the vast majority of their project in Tinkercad. So it's software that allows you to simulate an Arduino system, and you may be able to use that to demonstrate that your code does particular things when you tell it to. So that would be a really, really powerful thing to be able to do in your 10-minute presentation. Okay, so for the testing steps, for whoever has this, and this is a few of you have it in your project, basically what we let you do is we start the 2-hour testing procedure. Your workshop starts. A team will present, answer questions, test in a fairly short time frame. And then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And we try to get through all of that in about half an hour, about 5 minutes per team. Then we give everybody a little bit of time to allow them to go and make some last minute changes to their code. And then we give them the opportunity, say half an hour later, to come back and test a second time. So in that 2-hour window, you'll get 3 attempts of placing your robot on the track and hitting go. We only mark those 3 separate attempts, but yeah, you get some time to play around with your code and things like that as required. Okay, hey everybody, welcome to this video to introduce you to the software. This is a simulated Arduino environment in Tinkercad with code and stuff like that. So watch that video if you want to know what Tinkercad is. It should really help anybody who's not the hardware person wanting to test their code out. They should be able to do it that way. Anything else I can help you guys with? Did that answer your question about the testing steps? No. You probably should have received assessment marks yet. If you haven't, flick me an email. I'll check them. Not everybody has. Most people have, though. I'll check on them for you. I I feel that you probably don't need to steal components for your Eng 1500 project. That may be slightly excessive. I haven't strictly said no. I just think that it might be slightly excessive. I do not condone theft, especially not for some 2-cent stickers. Um, my perspective of online learning hasn't changed. It's been reinforced. Classrooms are better in every way. There's some things that I'm definitely going to keep from the online learning platform, like these live streams. I think next year I'll still do a Monday lecture and like a Friday live stream because it's really the amount of reduction in emails I can create by doing a live stream like this is fantastic. So I'll definitely keep that. And I'll definitely keep Discord. Probably not in exactly the same way, but definitely as a here everybody's team gets a Discord and a text chat and all of that. That's been fantastic as well. But it's supplementary to your primary method of delivery, not in place of it. Online classrooms are so much easier to teach in. Physical classrooms are so much easier to teach in. If you have an A3 mark and not an A2 mark, flick me an email. You probably got missed. As far as the altitude accord thing is going, at this stage, as far as I understand it, all parties are in agreement that it would be a nice thing to do. But no details have been set because we all agreed that there's no point trying to set any details when we don't know what the back end of this year is even going to look like. There was talk a few weeks ago of students not coming back for even semester 2. That's maybe not. Maybe you will be coming back now. Maybe it's all so up in the air that we all kind of went, let's not bother making plans, getting people excited, and then maybe having to pull the rug out from under them. So I don't think you'll hear any more about it for a fair while until we can go, all right, we're happy to set a date and a rule set and really narrow it down. Unfortunately, I know that's annoying, but yeah, I don't want to set it up and then have to change it on you. I don't think the bars have reopened yet. There's one place to get food on campus at the moment. It's awful. Yeah, it's weird. The Bar on the Hill doesn't always actually operate as a bar. It operated for quite a while. A year and a bit ago, I think, as just a cafe. It didn't have a liquor license for a while. How did you end up with leftover steak? Steak is the best. You should have eaten it all last night. So, I feel we're descending away from Eng 1500 related questions, which is fine. But does anybody have anything else course related they would like me to address? A4 marks as soon as a workshop leader can get them done. Unfortunately, I grabbed all of my workshop leaders this week and said to help figure out how we're going to do test day, so I set them all back again. Hopefully soon. I went in to print them on Sunday, and for some of the projects, for one of the projects, and I drained all the paper in all the printers I had access to, and now I need to wait for that to be refilled before I can continue printing them, and that was halfway through one of the projects. So I'll get them to you as soon as I can. The cafe thing in the Brennan room was open for a while. Should you look professional for your presentations? Yeah, you should. You are presenting to a business entity, and you should look correspondingly formal as a result. Not over the top. Don't wear a three-piece suit. Also, don't dress as Spider-Man. No, the qualifying track and the test track are totally separate. The idea of the qualifying track is, well, okay, so the qualifying track is effectively follow a line, stop at a wall, right? What you should do is prove to me that you're capable of doing that before you have a go at the far more complicated test track. Because what can happen in the test track scenario is people go and mess with stuff like just their line following code in order to try and do the very last bit of this track. They mess up their code from right at the start, and their bot can't even start, so they can't get literally anywhere, and they just fail and get a total 0. So the whole idea of the qualifying track is prove you can do that. Nice and simple. And then we feel more confident putting you on the big track and letting you go at that. And if you just drive straight off it because you mess something up, we've at least got some evidence that you could do something that we were going to give you marks for. But no, don't assume the qualifying track and the actual... the qualifying track is just the first part. It's not just part of the big track. Okay, so for aero, the mark for the full distance is something like 10 marks, but if we fall short of that distance, do we get a proportional to the marks or none? I believe you'll get so if your target is here and you're launching from here, I don't know how wide my camera vision is, there'll be 10 marks, 9 marks, 8 marks, 7 marks, 0 marks. Okay, so there'll be some line that we'll expect you to get to, and once you get over that, it will then be proportional between there and landing. These are some of the things that Sean and I will probably want to test out with some guinea pigs in week 11 if anybody's ready to launch. We'd like to do some launches with you and maybe work on the exact wording of that that assessment outline a little bit. No Spider-Man. I mean, I feel at this stage most of you should know that I have a strong preference for Marvel over DC. So if you're going to be uh, going anything superhero related, there is very clearly a correct and an incorrect field. Did you have a look at any of the Mech 1110 YouTube videos for learning Creo? Stuff that Sam's got up there? Okay then.
Hello and welcome to this.
They're a couple years old now. They're a little bit dated, but yeah, they should be really good. Yes. It does take some doing, getting used to every bit of solids modeling software has a different way of doing pan versus scroll versus zoom versus um and you'll learn how to use one and then everything else feels dirty from that point onward. So I learned how to use Creo first, and then trying to use all the stuff for my 3D printers just makes me want to pull my hair out. Um, design brief loopholes that I've had to patch out. In the original civil project brief to make the water tower, you were allowed to use anything that was like just readily available as something that would just be considered to be readily available. Absolutely nothing stopped you making a big pile of dirt and putting the water tower on top of it for free. In the original design brief, that was 100% full marks immediately straight in. We've been through several iterations of how we write the robot project brief as well to make sure that it sticks to something closer to an autonomous vehicle rather than just a dumb robot that was programmed to do one track once. We've changed quite a lot to stop that, to stop dumb robots in the robot project. You can still make a dumb robot. It's fine. We didn't completely patch it out, but we just made making an actually autonomous vehicle far preferable. Um, but we generally just patch stuff to um, subtly change things so you can't just take last year's design and reuse it. That's our main thing that we change. My preferred slicer is, I think, Cura. I haven't used it in a little while now because my printer doesn't work and I now just give everything to the workshop. I played around with Slicer, the one with the 3 in it, for a while, and I liked it, but not as much. I find them all pretty much the same, though. I don't know if I use any one of them well enough um, to actually be able to tell the difference between them. The robot project was actually going to get a pretty substantial rewrite this year, before the whole COVID thing. It's going to get a fairly substantial one next year. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. No, so the robot project has always had um, wording in it to stop somebody from using a remote control. You've never been able to have human interaction with the bot. That's always been banned in one phrasing or another. Um, yeah, no, that one we've always had patched out. No encoder, only driving. Encoders are the best. Oh, your question? Yeah, so if you don't have a mark, email me, because I don't know who you currently are, so I can't help you with why you may or may not have a mark. If you don't have a mark, you need to let me know who you are and what project you're doing, and if you submitted under any special circumstances for any reason. We're gonna redo bits of the robot project. It's gonna be similar. It's gonna get rephrased more around an autonomous vehicle that's going and searching to find particular items on the track. So less of a get from point A to point B, but here's a track with many parts on it, whole bunch of different routes. Go and find particular objects. Because that's actually what Corridor AI do with their robots, with their stuff. That's what it does. So that's what we're going to model more accurately. But it was just way too much to throw at you in the middle of this whole going online stuff. So those two comments sum up absolutely everything. Yes, about the Switch and the robot project is it will be cooler, but we don't want to make it significantly harder. It's at a good difficulty level at the moment, so we need to find a way to make it stay at roughly the same difficulty level, but reward more thought process around creative problem solving and autonomous systems. Cool, thank you. I'll do them probably tomorrow or the next day. I'm booked for most of tomorrow, unfortunately. So hopefully I'll do emails the next day. Okay. Um, is there anything else I can help anybody with? Oh, okay. So this is actually a great question that probably I should have addressed something like this sooner. So if you go to Blackboard, go to Assessments, go to Assessment 5, Video Recordings. So I tested this today. I uploaded a 700 meg file, and it did successfully upload. It took ages, and I kind of expected it to crash. So I'm still stress testing this part of the server. What will probably happen is, yeah, we'll get teams to upload several different videos. All of these need to be uploaded before test day. You'll be able to do that as a video to Blackboard, or maybe just demonstrate it in your workshop in week 11 if you're capable of doing that. But before test day, that's basically what you want to do. But we're still a little bit not sure how we want to do this. I don't know if I'll be able to get big enough videos up on Discord. I don't think I will, but I'd like to try that. I also need to find out whether Blackboard's going to fall over if hundreds of people go and upload gigabyte-sized files to it. So, I don't know. We're working on it. All right, how early does it need to be uploaded, though? It could be uploaded the day of. I normally set this up and say that it is due in week 11. because if you can't get it done by week 11, then you should be doing nothing other than that until week 11. That would be normal circumstances. Now it's a little bit get it done as soon as you can. If you can't get it done until test day, then get it done on test day. Yeah. I don't. So typical power efficient for previous years, horizontal axis wind turbines spread massively all over the place, unfortunately. Talk to Sean about getting a power coefficient. So I did consider um, uploads to YouTube. I was concerned about the admin burden of making everybody make YouTube accounts and upload videos and things like that. I know it's not super hard, but it was a burden I didn't want to put on people. So if people can upload through Blackboard, I think that will be easier for them. It's slightly easier for marking as well because it's contained within Blackboard. And regardless of whether they're listed or unlisted videos, some people don't like the idea of uploading something to YouTube. I don't know why it would matter, but anyway. So that's kind of where I first went, was YouTube videos, and it's still the backup in the back of my mind. But if Blackboard works, we'll use Blackboard instead. Does each video need to be uploaded by each team member or just one? I'm still going around in circles on that one as well. I'm probably going to say each team member, but I'm not sold on that fact because I don't necessarily know how you guys are going to share them with each other. So it might end up just being one team member. What I don't like about one team member uploading it is if that team member stuffs up, the whole team suffers and the whole rest of the team, it's kind of out of their hands. And I don't think that's very fair. And absentee team members can be difficult in that scenario. But we'll probably just do whatever's practical. Yeah, I'm hoping that we can get away with just one team member uploads to Blackboard and it all just works. That's how I would expect it to be. The next preference is to get Discord to be able to take a big enough video file. That would be great. And then maybe YouTube links after that. So you got to be careful with something like doing a poll to see whether people will do it, because somebody who's unwilling to answer the poll may also be unwilling to upload things to YouTube. And did you just corner a few people and make them feel really bad because they didn't want to share personal things? And you can't make people do that. That's fair. They don't have to do it if they don't want to. So you got to be very delicate about the way that you can handle some of these things. I don't know if Discord's capped at 8 megabytes if you server boost it. I think you can increase its capacity with the server boost. And I need to work out how much. Okay, so sorry if it's been addressed, but how are teams of less than 4 marked on their presentation/project testing? So teams of 3, no changes made. So a team of 3 is actually the ideal number for most projects. A team of 4 is a little bit burdensome. I stay with a team of 4 though, because when people then drop out and you get a team of 3, that's good. If you start with 3 and people drop out and you get a team of 2, that's bad. If you're down at a team of 2, we'll often give some consideration to that. And basically we sort of look at it and go, okay, you can generally do this at the workshop leader's discretion and go, yeah, they would have done this much better if they had an extra team member, or they did this part and just never even touch this part over here. We're like, yeah, if they had a third team member, they would have addressed that part. We just omit it from the marking rubric and scale up everything else that you've done. So we have strategies. It depends on the project, it depends on the way in which your team happened to tackle it, and it depends on how well your team opted to manage itself. And largely at the discretion of the workshop leader. But it's something we're fairly good at working out now. Yeah, so okay, 100 meg. 100 meg may be enough for some projects to upload. It may not be. I made a 15-minute video today on my phone, and it was, I think, 1.2 gig. So that may not work. I have to find out. Yeah, so if the team has a non-contributing group member, that's something that we can work. We can work on that as well. Again, something that we're getting fairly good at. If you've got a non-contributing group member, you definitely want to be making sure that you're in good contact with your workshop leader, and you're definitely using the text chat on the Discord, because that's my paper trail to show who is a contributing group member and who maybe isn't. Yeah. Now hold on. For the risk assessment, I put one up on Blackboard, right? Somewhere. There you go. Download that. It's pre-filled out for you. Some of it is. Yeah, that's alright. I'm still happy that I get to talk to whatever number of you opt to show up. Little yeah. Do we have anything else that anybody else wants? Anything else that anybody else wishes to ask? Yeah. If we're good, we might look at calling it soon. Obviously, hit me up on Discord if you need me. I might do a Friday Q&A if people want it. I don't know if there's a lot of need for it. So if people want it, I'll probably do another one, but otherwise I might let it go, and I'll just see you guys again on Monday next week. Thanks, everybody. See you later.